Good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to come along to another in the series of specific webinars for tourism businesses in partnership with DigitalBoost and Visit Scotland. Today, we've got the great Rennie Looper from Two Minds Digital, who will be covering off a 90-minute webinar with you on enhancing your social media program. A couple of things I want to cover off with you before I hand over to Rennie. Firstly, we're recording this and this webinar, and we'll be sharing it with you afterwards. We'll upload it to VisitScotland.org and send you a link to there. So that presentation will be available to you if you're not able to. There'll be a lot of detail and also available to anyone else who's not been able to attend. One thing we're really keen on is getting some questions from you. So anything that you have issues with or challenges with or want some more information on, just ask them on the control panel. There is a questions functionality there that you can ask those questions. What we'll then do is we perhaps might answer those to you directly, or we'll raise them as questions at the end of the session. So do wait on, and we will go through. We'll spend about 15-20 minutes running through all the questions. If there's more questions than we have time to answer, we'll go through those afterwards and get back out to you on that. There are another 3 webinars after this session, so I would recommend you put those in your diary. We'll give you those dates. There's 2 more intensive sessions on search engine optimization, 1 and 2. They're on two separate dates, and we're doing a final one in August in this rolling program, especially for experienced businesses who are looking to learn a little bit more about booking solutions and channel management. What we would also like to do is a special offer to you who are attending as tourism businesses is the opportunity to receive a digital review from the industry, Visit Scotland's industry relationship managers. And what that will cover is firstly just to check the learnings that you've got from this webinar, see what you've managed to implement, and if there's any other digital opportunities you've left on the table, our relationship managers will go over those with you. Our only ask to you, if you would want that, is that you actually act on the actions that we would propose. So at the end of this session, we're going to send you a survey. It'll pop up on your screen for you to say yes or no, whether you want that, and we'll be in contact with you afterwards to set up a proper a date for a bit of a chat and a follow through on that. So lastly, before I to cover off my one other slide, is that it is really key for us that you spend some time afterwards. Just take a couple of minutes to give us some feedback on the value of this webinar, and if you have any suggestions for any other subjects you would like us to cover. So Visit Scotland are delivering this with DigitalBoost. Rennie, if you could change over to the next slide. We want to also sort of cover off what DigitalBoost can offer you on top of these webinars. So they have a podcast, which is really valuable content that you could perhaps look at. There's also some really good articles on their website. Going on to DigitalBoost URL for some further information. So beyond that, what I'd like to do now is hand over to Rennie to start our webinar. Don't forget the questions, keep them coming to us.
Great stuff, Patrick, thank you very much, and welcome everybody. I've seen the delegate list, I've seen the businesses that are attending, and there's about 60 people, almost 60 people, or more now I see, on the call. So welcome. I've seen some familiar businesses I've worked with in the past with as well. So nice to see you in a sort of a virtual way. I'm going to switch off my webcam and focus on the slides because that's what it's going to be. So I'm going to stop sharing my webcam. There we go, and we focus on the slides. So the program for today. I've got, Patrick said I've got about 90 minutes till 1 o'clock. I tend to finish at about, 12:45. So we have about 15-20 minutes for questions at the end. But today's agenda looks like this: the online digital landscape, some slides to set the scene. Then we're going to talk about content marketing, the different sort of social media platforms, and we're going to feature Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and new kid on the block. Well, it's been there for a while, but TikTok, we're gonna do something there as well. Social media monitoring and measuring your success. It's quite a challenge to do all these platforms in roughly 90 minutes, so I'm going to speak fast. However, you can download the slides like Patrick said as well, so you can see the sort of the content that I've shared with you. And I'm going to show you some real life examples as well about Facebook, Twitter, and the other social media platforms. So the first couple of slides, the first 3 slides is about scene setting, why social media could be a potentially good thing to use. And I'm not here to convince you, and no doubt most of you will be on social media. My objective, my goal with today is to give you some ideas how to get more results from social media, better ROI, better return on investment in things, because it can be very time consuming in that bit. So today is all about not convincing you, but making better use of the different platforms. That's what I'm hoping to do today. Right. I don't have to tell you that there are about 7 billion people, almost 8 billion people in the world. A lot of them have mobile phone, a lot of them are on the internet, and a lot of them are using social media on a daily basis. And you can see here the sort of the time spent on internet, social media, watching TV, listening to music, etc., etc. And especially now with the COVID and all that sort of stuff, lockdowns, people tend to go to the internet to get a little bit of entertainment, research, and when we finally can book holidays again, and the time has come, then most people will go to the internet to find things to do, things to travel, where to stay, what to buy, where to buy my fashion, etc. So the whole travel industry, there's about almost $600 billion US dollars spent on e-commerce. So that's quite a lot of money, and no doubt some of it you like to sort of get hold of as well. We reached slide number 7, and that is for Al, who's on the call as well, designed to sort of start with a poll. We have like last week, I know some of you have attended last week's session as well about online reputation, and we asked you some questions about if you're using TripAdvisor, Facebook, etc. Today is the same thing. I quite like to get some feedback from all the people that are there. So the first question that you can see popping up on your screen, and please join us. The first question is, which social media platform do you use? Please choose all the relevant ones. So you can tick multiple. So are you using Facebook? Are you using Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, or are you using them all? Tick as many as you're doing for the business, not for yourself, but for the business. So we'll give you a couple of seconds, I take it, to fill in the questions, and Al can keep an eye on if most people have done that, or hopefully all people have done that. So are you using Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube for the business? And once everybody has filled in, we should see the result of that. Here we go. Oh, that was very quick. There we go. 92% is using Facebook, Twitter, 57%, Pinterest, 22%, Instagram, not a surprise, 80%, YouTube, 49%. So I'm just going to take a note of that. 92, 57, 22, 80, and 49. Perfect. The next question is about if you're using, if I'm not mistaken, I don't see it yet, but if you're using video. Do you use video content on your social media channels? Yes or no? So that's quite easy. One choice, do you use video content on your social media channels? Yes or no? 65% yes, 35% no. Okay. I thought it would be higher, but that's interesting. Last question to keep you awake is about how often do you post on your social media platforms? Is that once a week? Is that 2-3 times a week, daily, or several times a day? For people who have a lot of time, several times a day. So if you can fill in one of the following: once a week, 2 or 3 times a week, daily, or several times a day. Love to see the result of that after a couple of seconds once we give everybody the time to fill that in. 45% once a week, 32% 2 to 3 times per week, 17% daily, and there's 6% that is doing quite a lot of it several times a day. Interesting, very good. Thank you very much for doing that. That's very, very good. And the reason why we do this at the beginning is to get a better understanding of where you are with the social media journey. So thanks for that. The next slide, as you can see, I'm not going to read everything that's on the screen. You can read it yourself. But there are many benefits that social media can help with. It's very cost efficient. It's in essence it's free. However, as many of you noticed, it costs time, and that costs money. So there is definitely a sort of a cost involved with that, time cost. It's good for reputation management. People are leaving 5-star reviews on TripAdvisor, on Facebook, on Google. It's great for quick communication with the clients, good for advertising, reputation management, targeting new customers. There's a multiple of things that actually social media can help with. A lot of people do ask me when I work with businesses, you know, what does social media actually do? Why am I spending all this time on social media? And basically, to really start from the basic marketing principles, basically, because before people can buy from you or book with you, stay with you, buy from you, they need to be aware of you. So what social media can do is being on the platforms that most of your customers are using on a daily basis. And not all your customers are on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram or on YouTube or on TikTok. So you need to make a decision about which platforms are better for the type of people that I want to target. Yeah. So Facebook, because of the size, it's over 2 billion people are on Facebook. It's very much a sort of a mature platform. If that's your target audience, then Facebook might be working well for you. And what you basically do is you add people to your sales funnel. Because reality is that most people will not visit your lovely, good-looking website on a daily basis. Why would they? It looks the same. You might not even come up on page 1 with certain search terms because there's a lot of competition. So being on Instagram with lovely photos, being on Facebook, being on Twitter, on YouTube allows people to create awareness about your business. Yeah. The next step is awareness is great. People are aware of your name, but they need to do something. They need to consider you because you're not the only accommodation provider on Skye or in Edinburgh or in Inverness, where I'm based. So you need to make sure that people are interested in you because you have a nice, good-looking website. You're good with your communication, etc., etc. So that's where the engagement comes in. Being on social media is one thing, but engaging with your audience is extremely important. That social bit in social media is extremely important. And once people know you, start to trust you, like you, etc., then they're gonna buy from you. And all of a sudden, in that whole process, from being faceless people before, they now become real people. They become real customers with names, with faces, and interests, etc. And no doubt some of you have been on a marketing course or a marketing webinars where we talk about personas. And this next slide is some personas that Visit Scotland have come up with about the different types of people that are coming to Scotland. So you've got the adventure seekers, you've got the curious travelers, and you have the food-loving culturalists. There's obviously a lot more personas in that, but you need to identify the target audience, the persona that you like to target, and very important, where are they hanging out? Some people, depending on their interest and their behaviors, are hanging out on Facebook, and others might be using Pinterest more or Instagram more. So you need to visualize and actually give people, audiences, personas a name to be able to describe the different type of persons you're targeting. Yeah, and in the next slide you can see an example of Ellie, Nick, and Jennifer with their interest, their age, their pains. You know, what are their pain points, and can you help overcome these pain points? Can you solve those pain points? What are their needs? Can you provide those needs? And where are they hanging out? Where are they finding their information? It's not just Google, it could be Facebook, it could be TripAdvisor, it could be Airbnb, it could be Visit Scotland, it could be any sort of social media platform. So understanding, and this is not something new because of social media, these are the basic marketing principles of getting people interested in your product or service. Yeah. And when we work with businesses, a lot of businesses don't spend too much time on it and just are posting stuff on Facebook, posting the same stuff on Twitter, the same stuff on Instagram, social media done. To be honest, that's a very lazy form of social media, and it's also not targeted. And that's why I emphasize social media is targeted advertising. You need to find out where people are hanging out. I'm not a big fan of the word strategy because everything is a strategy nowadays. However, I do make an exception for digital because there are so many things, especially now, where you need to be aware of with online marketing and digital marketing. First of all, you need to why are you on Facebook? Why are you on Twitter, Instagram? What is your objective? What's your goal? And of course, that is sales. You want to get more sales, but before, like I said earlier, before you get sales, people need to first be aware of you. Some organizations, businesses use it to provide customer service. ScotRail, for example, KLM, British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair even provide customer service, hopefully, through the social media platforms. And the biggie at the end, it drives a lot of traffic to your website. And that's what you want to do with social media, being there where your customers are hanging out, but then driving them back to your website. Then you need to think about your audience. Who is my audience? Is it B2C? Is it B2B? For a hotel business, for example, and I'll speak from my own experience, we had retired couples that usually came Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday for a nice weekend away. Then we had the single business traveler. They have different needs, different demands, different pain points, etc., etc. Then we have people that visited friends and family. Then we have people that came for the whiskey or for walking or for golf. So define your audience, describe your audience. And it's not just the end user, it's the influencers. And I'm not talking about Instagram influencers, but people that recommend your business because they stayed with you, they use your services, etc. That more or less defines the best platforms for you. So based on your audience and the goals that you set yourself for social media, you can then say, for this audience, I'm going to use Facebook. For this audience, Pinterest. For that audience, Instagram. I'm not saying be present on all these platforms because there's not too much time in the day, apart from those 6% of people that post several times on social media. you better use 2 platforms but do them really well than trying to manage 7 or 8 platforms. An out-of-date Twitter account is much more damaging than it helps. And that more or less goes to the next bit, which is the resources. Who's going to do it? Is it just yourself with limited resources? Do you outsource it? Do you have someone in your team that can do it? Someone needs to manage it. And the last step is how to measure it. If you set your goals, I want more sales from social media. How do you actually measure sales coming from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc.? Yeah, like I said, these slides will be shared so you can see that later on as well. That's Alexa kicking in. Content marketing, that's a biggie because it's all about the content nowadays. The right sort of content at the right place where people are in the stages of booking a hotel or a self-catering or a restaurant or whatever. It's about first dreaming about going to Scotland, then planning, booking, experiencing it, and then sharing their experience as well. So people are in different stages of the buying behavior in the sales funnel, as I described earlier. Yeah, and they need different type of content in the different sort of stages. That's important to realize. And just to give you some ideas about content marketing, there's sort of 5 types of content. Is content to entertain, the informal type of content to educate, make people aware of how to get to your business, what to do, etc., etc. Content to inform, to inspire, and when people are ready to buy, the content to convert. Yeah, just to give you some examples of those 5 types of content, and it's very important to understand this, because when I look at businesses on their Facebook page, on their Twitter, it's all about them. We're wonderful, we're great, we have great rooms, great food, all that sort of stuff. It's not all about you. Be part of a community, share stuff from other businesses, local businesses, etc., etc. Post some entertaining stuff, educational stuff, informative stuff. And some examples for that is on the next slide, the old school Beauty, which is not too far away from where I am in Inverness. A very informal 1 minute 45-second video posted on their Facebook page about Scottish dancing. They're delighted they can open again, and you know, that's entertaining. It's not about selling, it's about entertaining. Content to educate is what the VisitScotland Inn has done about whiskey, Fact Friday about whiskey, or another business, I think it's a lighthouse company. Yeah. Did you know there are 200 lighthouses in Scotland? I think it's actually Mackay's Hotel in Wick that posted that. So content to educate, people want to know things. Content to inform, that's at the moment a lot about, you know, what can you expect when you visit our hotel? Are we prepared to open? We're good to go. The Visit Scotland scheme. You know, people want to know what can we expect? And I've seen lots of hotels, restaurants creating little videos about, you know, when you come to us, this is how we do things, and this is how we keep you safe, etc., etc. I love the content to inspire. I mean, that's South Scotland in itself. So Isle of Mull Cottages, what they've done, they've shared some beautiful pictures of the inspire and almost dreaming stage there as well. Content to convert, and I love food like many other people, and drink there. I can see that too. Content to convert is the Pearl Oban, which is where I've stayed a few times actually. A lovely afternoon tea, and the Marcliffe there as well, lovely afternoon tea. And you know, it doesn't harm to post pictures about buy from us, but do it in a nice way, without too pushy. Not every bit of content should be about buy from us, promotional content. Yeah, 5 types of content. Please remember that. Some of you might heard of the website answerthepublic.com. It's an interesting website where you can find the questions that people have about any subject. So I typed in golf, for example, and then in a nice visual way, and I've highlighted something. So this is about educate, inform. You know, if you want to attract golfers, for example, you can find questions that people have about golf or chocolates. It's actually World Chocolate Day today. You know, if that's your target audience, because you're a chocolate making business, type in chocolate and you get questions there as well. So Answer the Public is a search engine for people's questions. And as I mentioned before, if people are researching, they're in the research stage, they want their questions to be answered. And a simple example, if I look at the which golf ball is best for me, will golfing drive ranges be open? Will the golf course be open tomorrow? If you have answers to those questions, write a blog post about it, write a social media post about it, share your expertise and knowledge, be helpful, because you know it's not all about selling, it's being helpful, because that makes you a nice person, and people tend to like to buy from nice people. Yeah, so don't just promotional, be informative, be entertaining, and be inspiring as well. Another website where you can find some ideas about the trends, the different trends that people are searching for, and you can actually compare different sort of words that's in this slide. So are more people looking for whiskey than whiskey, or bourbon, the American way? And that's so we can see how over time, over a year, over 6 months, over 5 years almost, what sort of search terms are relevant just now. Yeah, and just to give you an example of why is that important, for myself, I'm a social media training business. My website was completely optimized for the word workshops, but that changed completely. How long ago? 18 months ago now? A year ago? Something like that. Nobody looks for workshops. Now people are looking for webinars. And when I compared the search from workshop to webinars, I could see until March last year, more people were looking for workshops than for webinars, but that obviously changed from March last year. So have a look at people's sort of search behavior on Google Trends. It's a nice free website, and you get a lot of information from Google Trends and Answer the Public, as I showed you before. Content is important, and again, when I speak to most businesses, content is usually ad hoc. People think, "Ooh, I haven't posted on my Facebook page for a while, or I haven't tweeted for a while, or posted something on Instagram. Just put this up." That doesn't really work. That's not effective. You need to plan your content in advance. So this is an example of a simple social media calendar, July 2021, and I told you today, Wednesday the 7th, is World Chocolate Day, hashtag World Chocolate Day. You can plan that content. Friday the 23rd, the Tokyo Olympics might or not go ahead. Can you join in with some social media posts about the Olympics? Or is there something happening in your area in July, in August? Is there something happening in your business in July, August? So social media content works better if it's planned ahead. And that's why I always recommend, if you're doing social media and you want to get more results from social media, use a calendar. That could be an easy Word or Excel document. And you can find several of them on the internet if you do a search on those. Yeah, cool. Half an hour in, and we go to our first social media platform, which is Facebook. And like I said, Facebook is the biggest platform out there, over 2 billion people. However, the demographic has changed over the years, and you see that with other social media platforms as well. So Facebook, obviously, when it started, was more for the young people, the students, the young people. Then the more mature people like me joined, and then grandparents joined, etc. So if teenagers are your target audience, Facebook probably not the best platform to reach those people. However, the parents are on Facebook. Yeah, the 35 plus sort of demographic is using Facebook a lot, and also the grandparents. YouTube will feature YouTube as well. Not a lot of people realize that it is actually a social media platform. You don't get the engagement like you get on Facebook, but a lot of people do research on YouTube, how to fix things, but not just how to fix things. Also, I'm going to Isle of Skye or Edinburgh or Argyll next year, next month. What is there to do? I found this lovely attraction. I like to see videos of that attraction. I like to see videos of the restaurant, of the hotel, etc. A lot of people do research. Very underused platform for businesses. A lot of people use it, but businesses are missing a trick there. WhatsApp, I'm not going to feature WhatsApp, but it will be next year, apart from seeing the logos of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram on business website. WhatsApp for business is quite effective as well. Instagram we're going to feature, and Twitter and Pinterest as well. Facebook first. Very much mobile orientated, like other platforms as well. When I look at my analytics and for my customers on Facebook, a lot of traffic is coming from mobile Facebook, and not so much from the desktop, but obviously it works on desktop as well. How to get the most out of Facebook? I always feel your Facebook page, the people that like your Facebook page are people that know you, they stayed with you, they've used you, you're talking to existing customers in that sense. Don't be overly promotional. Share what's going on behind the scenes. People love to see faces behind the business, and show the company culture. On your website, it says you're great. Every website says we're great, but on social media, you show you're great, and that has much more of an impact. Yeah. And when I look at, again, data from my own Facebook or for customers' Facebook, when people are in the photo, you tend to get a better result from your photos. It's not just about posting, and you certainly don't have to post every day or multiple times per day, but engagement is important. Engage with your community. I see it a lot. Businesses are so focused on promotional stuff, they forget or ignore basically the people that are engaging. Great picture, thanks. I stayed with you last year, it was wonderful. No reply. Reply to comments, reply to questions, and share other business content. It's not all about you. Get reviews, like on TripAdvisor. Facebook reviews are pretty good as well. It builds trust, and because you're talking to the same people, you tend to talk to the same people, the audience, existing customers. Try Facebook advertising. Target people in a specific location, on interest, on age, etc. It's an effective way to reach your target audience. What I like about Facebook and other social media platforms, you get data. You can find out how effective is my post, how many people did I reach, where do these people live? Are they male? Are they female? Are they between 35 and 44? Are they between 55 and 64? So Facebook Insights gives you good marketing information. You see that on the infographic on the left, the bit on the right where you can see the sort of big dip. That shows me the people on Facebook that like my page, at what day and on what time are they tend to be active on Facebook. and the big dip actually starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but at a specific time. You probably, when you look at your Facebook insights, you probably see the same dip. That's not UK time, that's actually US time. So the best time for me and for most people to post is between 7 and 10 in the evening on Facebook. But you get a better understanding if you look at the post, how many people did it reach, and you can see a direct link between low engagement, so not many people liking or commenting means not a big reach. Huge engagement, a lot of people liking, commenting, then all of a sudden you start to reach more people, and that's purely because of Facebook algorithm in that sense. The organic reach over the years has gone down dramatically. And I was dealing with a client yesterday, and we looked at competitors. A competitor had 50,000 followers on Facebook, but the average amount of people that liked or commented were about 7, 10, 15 sometimes. So where is the rest of the 50,000 people? Yeah. So be aware that your page might have 1,000 followers or likes. You'll probably only be visible to 5% or even less of that audience, and that's because of the algorithm that Facebook has done. It doesn't show all your fans, all your likes, all your posts. That's where Facebook advertising comes in, and I mean that is so targeted. You can target people in the UK, in Holland, in Norway, in the US, in Japan, who in a different sort of age range, interested in luxury travel, interested in holiday cottage, interested in dogs, you know, and that comes about knowing your target audience. Who are those people? And the more you know about your target audience, the better you can target them on social media. You target people on postcodes, target people who've been to your website. There's lots of advertising opportunities for Facebook, and there are different webinars on Facebook advertising as well. Facebook Live, some of you might have done those. These are very attractive and effective. Is where you sit down with maybe a tour guide or a chef or someone that knows about your area, and you spend half an hour live or an hour live. Gets a lot of engagement. Plan it beforehand, and think about what stage people are looking at the Facebook Live. People can interact with the Facebook Live. There's lots of useful uses of Facebook Live. It's a bit scary when you start with that, but it's very effective. And once you've done one, it becomes pretty addictive. I have to mention Facebook competitions. I see a lot. Like our page, share our page, and you win an iPad or a 4K television, something like that. Yes, they work. Yes, you get more likes, but it's not a numbers game. It's better to have 500 likes, but they're the right people, than 50,000 likes, and only a handful of them are really interested. The rest just wanted to win an iPad, for example. Yeah, so they do work, but there are some rules. You are allowed to ask people to post to enter, like your page to enter, comment, etc., etc. You're not allowed, however you see it a lot, to ask people to share your page or share that content. That goes against Facebook competition rules. You see it a lot, but it's not actually allowed. And the one on the left, yes, you can like this post to enter. That's okay. What is not okay is share this post, which a lot of people have done. 5,000 people have shared it, but actually it goes against Facebook competition rules. Do a competition because you want to achieve something, not just to get more likes. And no doubt we'll get some questions later on about Facebook competition. But we have to move on. We only have 90 minutes, so the next nice platform is Instagram. I personally love Instagram. It's visual. And you can see Visit Scotland there. I spoke to a customer on a daily basis. I speak to customers that are on Instagram, but not maybe doing it the right way, not using hashtags. And you must use hashtags to reach a new audience. If you don't use hashtags in your posts, then you're only talking to the same people, your followers, by using hashtags. So for example, Visit Scotland is using hashtag Visit Scotland or only in Scotland to share posts from visitors, from businesses that tell a story about Scotland. It's inspirational, so post inspirational photos and videos, but you need to use hashtags. And on the next slides, I will give you some examples of that as well. This is a lighthouse, 24,000 followers on Instagram. Wonderful pictures, setting the scene, you know, be inspirational, storytelling, be nice, etc., etc. Engaging is as important as posting. And again, an example of River Edge Lodges that has posted something, and you're actually responding to that as well. So well done, Mary, for that. You did pay attention to what I've said. Responding is very, very, very important. Share your passion. Let people know you're a nice person. People like to buy from nice people. Be inspirational. Share your values and culture. Some hashtags you can think of using. If you're a self-catering business, then hashtag self-catering Scotland makes sense, because surprisingly, a lot of people don't know that a lot of people use Instagram as a search engine. Do a search on Google, self-catering Scotland, you get websites. A search on Instagram, self-catering Scotland hashtag, will give you inspirational photos about the type of accommodation or service you're looking for. And it's all visual, it's all photos or videos in that sense. If you're on Sky, then obviously the hashtag I love Sky are very important to use. So use location hashtags, use self-catering if you're self-catering. If you're 5-star, use 5-star or 4-star or whatever. Think about what is in the picture and what sort of searches do people do on Instagram. Very, very effective platform. It sells Scotland so easily. Instagram stories and live video on Instagram as well. Stories are those things, those circles at the top when you look at Instagram, and they disappear after 24 hours. Funny enough, Instagram, if you look at the demographics, is younger than Facebook. Definitely younger than Facebook, and within Instagram there are different sort of ways people use Instagram. So I'm in the sort of the more mature age group, 50 plus, let's say that. I tend to look at photos. We've got Emma in our team who's in her 30s. She doesn't look at photos, look at stories. So younger audience, more engaging with stories, to sort of the more mature demographic, and I'm generalizing here, looking more at photos. Mix it up, photos, videos, you can add polls, GIFs in stories as well, and have a look at some competitors, for example, people that are using Instagram on hashtag Edinburgh, hashtag Inverness, hashtag I love Sky, and see what comes up. YouTube was mentioned earlier on. A lot of people use YouTube to look for how to fix things and everything, but a lot of people do research on YouTube as well for their holiday destinations, because they want to find out some videos. Land Rover Experience is hopefully on the call as well, because I'm using their YouTube channel. And again, you know, yes, your website gives nice information, but people like to see the videos behind the scenes and what it's like driving a Land Rover at your place as well. So don't underestimate the power of YouTube. It's when I look at businesses analytics, actually quite a lot of hits from YouTube can go to the website if you provide the link in your description. Why should I invest my time in creating videos? And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's right, and Patrick will mention it at the end as well, there are webinars coming up about creating videos, how to use videos, etc. later on. There's way more content to follow as well in follow-up sort of webinars. But why should you be creating videos? It shows great return on investment, higher engagement. Google loves videos, especially YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google, so of course they're going to push their own content up front, and people share emotions, not facts. And you can see here some differences between a Facebook video or an image or a link. It tends to reach a lot more people. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying go to every platform, but think about your audience. Where are they hanging out? Where do they do their research? And is there an opportunity for a business to be there with some informative content? Pinterest, I think only 22%, or was it, yeah, 22% used Pinterest, if I'm not mistaken. In the last couple of years, and it seems like ages ago now, I booked 2 holidays, once to Iceland and one to Venice. I stayed in Scotland as well, but that was earlier on. The 2 platforms that I used, Pinterest and Instagram. Why? Because it's visual. I type in self-catering Scotland on Pinterest. Again, I see pictures, not websites. It links to websites, but first of all, I see pictures. Yeah. So in that dreaming stage, researching stage, it's important to be have a presence on Pinterest. And the beauty about Pinterest is if you've not used it for a couple of years or months, it doesn't matter. It's not time sensitive. It's a bit like YouTube. Posting a video on YouTube 2 years ago, it still does something. Yeah. But a lot of people use it in the research stage of their holiday. And just to show you some proof of that, and this is an example of the Royal Yacht Britannia, who, if I'm hoping, is on the call as well. So well done on your social media and your Pinterest. That looks pretty good. You can create different sort of boards, inspirational boards, and that's what you've done here. And that's for a business. For consumers, for visitors, people planning their holiday, you can already identify people that are planning their 2022 trip to Scotland, because this is how people, not all, some people plan their holidays. They create boards, albums of different things that once they go to Scotland, they go to the board and then they see, okay, over the last couple of months, what did we save? What did we want to do in Pitlochry, in Aviemore, in Isle of Arran, etc., etc. And you know, just a simple search on Scotland trip 2022 shows me there's already people planning. They're already creating their boards, their mood board. Yeah, get involved with Pinterest. Doesn't generate a lot of effort, to be honest, but you need to be on it, especially for tourism businesses. Twitter, I love Twitter. I think it's over the years that I've been using Twitter, it's enabled me to connect with people that I would normally not have connect with. I would never send them an email out of the blue, but because we follow each other on Twitter, you build a relationship. Yeah. And on this screen, I've got some examples of some very normal conversations that are taking place on Twitter. So I did a search on, because that's what Twitter does as well. Twitter has a search functionality. I did a search on the word Scotland recommend. Yeah. And these people came up. Amy, can anyone recommend anywhere lovely to holiday on the west coast of Scotland, planning for 2021? Yeah. Amy understands Twitter is an open platform, and anyone can respond to that. Yeah, if Amy posted that on Facebook, it will only go to her friends. She wants to open up to more people. Danielle as well, can anyone recommend any lodge holidays in Scotland? There is some journalists that are looking for properties that still have availability for Christmas. And how did I find that tweet? I did a search on the hashtag journo request and then the word Scotland added to it. Yeah. Gemma is asking a question. Tober comes back. Can highly recommend this place, etc., etc. Highland Lodges, etc. So Twitter is much more conversational in that sense. Even if your local community is not using it, some places don't like Twitter, not using it because the locals are not using it. But the international market definitely is using it. So again, it opens you up to a worldwide audience. Have a look at Twitter. Go to Twitter, do a search on your business name and see what comes up. People are already talking about your business. Are you joining the conversation or not? But be aware, it is important to respond to people. Yeah. So if you don't have the resources and you don't think your customers are using Twitter, don't use Twitter. If you feel we have a bit of time left, the type of people that tend to use Twitter are the sort of the more active people, the mountain bikers, the sporty type of people. I mean, I'm generalizing again, but that's the sort of market that is using Twitter as well, younger than Facebook again. Right, when we talk about young people, we can't ignore TikTok. And I'll love to hear in the questions and answers as well. Are businesses, are people using TikTok? TikTok definitely gains more momentum. I've been aware of the platform, of course, for a couple of years now, but I never recommended it to my clients because at that point, it was more for young people interested in dancing, funny videos, and all that sort of stuff. And I said, unless your target audience are teenagers, yeah, then it makes sense to join it. But if that's not your target audience, why spend time on TikTok? Things have changed. For me, I would have said probably 6 months ago, stay away from TikTok. It's not really your target audience for most of my clients. But that has changed. Like with Facebook, like with Instagram and with Twitter as well. Social media platforms move on. And yes, it's very much a young audience, but more people my age, 50 plus, are visible on TikTok. And on the screen, you can see a hotel, Foyers Lodge, nearby actually, Loch Ness. On their website, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on TikTok. And they have some nice videos there as well. The benefit of TikTok is that with a relative small amount of followers, the chances that things go viral, get a lot of likes, reach, etc., is quite high. So again, you know, if you feel we can do something with TikTok because that's where our audience is hanging out, have a look at it. See if it works for you. I find myself more on TikTok nowadays than on Facebook, and like I said, I'm in the 50 plus range. There's lots of success story. This is a fashion brand that went almost bankrupt, and now they're a big hit on TikTok. But it's not just for fashion. I found this article from a couple of weeks ago or months ago from the National Geographic. Travel tips are now coming from TikTok, and even the young people are sharing their local area because they're passionate about their local area. But again, it's not just the young people. Yeah. Cool. Where do I find all the time to manage all these platforms? And again, I really emphasize that don't try to be in all the platforms. Be on 2 or 3, but do them really well. There are different tools that you can use, social media management tools like Hootsuite, like Buffer, like Later, where you can manage all your social media from one dashboard. So you can plan your content weeks before, days before, months before, and you can plan to say, well, actually that week there's a lot of content planned, but the week after is not a lot of content, so can we move things about? You can make it part of a team, so if you have multiple people in your team that can add to your social media, they can write it, they can plan it, and you can have a look at it to see if it's okay. But there are different sort of tools available, and they usually offer a free trial to try them out. Again, I would love to hear in the Q&A session from people that are using social media management tools already, and if it's effective or not. Right, almost there. Analytics. The reason why I love digital marketing is because of the data that is coming back, and you need to make sense of the data, because not all data is relevant, is good, and focusing on the wrong type of data is actually not very good. So you need to find ways on how can I find out what we're doing on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and even on TikTok is actually bringing results. And results can be a hit to your website, or a booking that's coming from Facebook or Instagram, and you can measure that with the most advanced and free tool actually is Google Analytics, which again, there will be a webinar about Google Analytics, if I'm not mistaken, with Patrick. Patrick will keep me right at the end about the different webinars that are coming up. If you want to find more information about analytics, there is a sort of an advanced session on that one as well. But basically, it's a free tool, and it always surprises me how little business owners know about this or actually have access to it. And it's a crucial element of your social media management. I mean, you're doing all that work on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. You really need to see results. And Google Analytics is one of those free tools that doesn't cost a lot of money to install on your website. It's a bit of code that needs to be added to your website. And from that moment on, you can find out on a daily basis, where is the traffic coming from which country? How did it find you? It was just through Facebook. And you can see on this screenshot as well, it's not that big, but hopefully you can see there's a lot of traffic coming from Facebook, mobile Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, T.co is Twitter, and YouTube you can see there as well. So this is a perfect way to find out, hey, what sort of platforms are actually bringing results, and is that actually resulting? If you link your booking system to Google Analytics, is that actually resulting into sales? So how much sales did Facebook made last month or Instagram made last month? And there's ways of doing that. Cool. Key takeaways for today. I think I am pretty much on time. I surprised myself, actually. I featured Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok even, within an hour, more or less. There's lots more to tell about the different things, but the key takeaways for today is don't feel you have to post every day. That has changed. It's much more about the quality than the quantity of posts. And the beauty is, like I said, you can find out. You know, I post on Monday, I get so many people reached. I post on Tuesday, I get so many people reached. Wednesday, etc., etc. Do you see a trend? And if you post less, you actually might find that more people are sort of engaging in that sense. Don't do it just for the sake of it. do it for a reason. Yeah. Think about the visual. Should it be a photo? Should we put text on top of a photo? Should it be a video, for example, or a photograph, or an infographic in that sense? Create a social media content plan. So it is the beginning of July still. What are things happening in July? What are the things happening in August in your business, in your sector? And put those things in a social media content plan. What are we going to do about Father's Day, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the 19th of July? Is there something we can do with Father's Day, for example? Oops. Not just posting is important. It's much more important to engage with your audience, and I can't emphasize that enough. It's when we get involved with businesses and say we don't really get results from our social media, it's usually because they don't spend time building their community, engaging with the community. They're way more focused on posting content. Yeah, so build a community around your brand. And the last tip, actually, be social. Don't be a salesman or saleswoman on social media. Yeah. So takeaways from today: social media, the bit social is extremely important. Tell a story, engage with your audience, and sales will come. Not to say you can't put conversion content on there as well. So your afternoon tea or your special offer or your last minute, there's place for that as well. But 80% of the time you should be a social person. Right. This is the moment I hand over to Patrick, because he's going to tell you much more about the support and the other webinars that are coming up.
Thank you, Rennie. That's some really interesting content, which I hope is generating some questions and some thoughts for you. There are some questions which have come in, but still take some time right now, go into the question element in the control panel and pop in any questions that you would like us to raise. So we'll start doing those. A couple of things that Rennie raised whilst the webinar was going on. So he mentioned a video and getting some support for that. We previously did a really good video webinar. It was delivered by our social or multimedia manager, Stuart Brunton. I've actually put a link in the chat box on the control panel directly for that. So copy and paste that just now, and there's a really good article and a link to the webinar. We will be doing a video webinar probably in the autumn, so keep an eye out for that if that's one that's of particular interest. In terms of upcoming webinars, you'll see it down here on the right hand side. Next Wednesday we're doing we seem to have lost that screen. We're doing an analytics session. It will include social insights and it will include Google Analytics. It's really for beginners and a little bit more. So there's enough in there for you if you're using analytics to get some additional pieces of information, some little jewels. That's been delivered by Brian Tate of Allium, who really knows his stuff and also covers off social insights as well. Search engine optimization, we've broken that down into two pieces. Really good for those of you who are looking how best to optimize your site and start understanding the importance of content creation. That sessions are on the 28th of July and on the 4th of August for you both. We're also doing a further follow-up on online booking solutions and channel management for experienced businesses purely. That's attractions, activities, or tours. We're doing that. We're calling it lookers, turning lookers into bookers on the 19th of August. So look out for that if you possibly have the time to do it. Some really good content. So looking at some questions, I can see they're piling in now. And I'll just sort of scroll through them just to sort of see what. So I think there was one, Rennie, that you might be able to help us, the audience with. It's about the use of hashtags and whether you can use too many hashtags. Is that what's your thoughts on that? Rennie, I think you're on mute.
Yep.
I see you've got you.
I'm not doing this for the first time, but I still forget the mute button. Yes, that's one of the most the frequently asked questions, hashtags. I personally, I don't like hashtags on Facebook. They do work, I do see them, but when I ask people, did you ever click on a hashtag on Facebook? Most people say no, I find them irritating. So I wouldn't use hashtags on Facebook. Twitter, definitely. Twitter, use hashtags. However, because you only have 280 characters, use 2 to 3 hashtags to help people finding that content. So if you're sharing information about your area and your area is Isle of Skye, for example, then hashtag Isle of Skye, hashtag self-catering, that's fine. 2 to 3 hashtags. Don't go over that. A lot of the time I see a tweet with a couple of words and then 10 hashtags. Irritating, not the etiquette. I would never share it. I would never like it. It's not the right platform to do that. So Twitter, 2 to 3 hashtags. Instagram, you can go up to 30 hashtags and it's still okay. So there is definitely a different sort of way of using these platforms the right way. And the reason why Instagram can do a lot more, because if I do a search on hashtag Edinburgh, for example, I get to see photos. When I click into the photo, then I see the hashtags. But the first impression is the photo. So if you're in a business in Edinburgh, hashtag Scotland, hashtag VisitScotland, they'll work, and you can go a lot more than these things. I hope that answered that question.
Great. Yeah, that's really useful. I think, yeah, there's a definite difference between Instagram use of hashtags, and there was a follow-up, well, a linked question to that, where it's a difference, I suppose, in terms of how people search. And this is one about staycation or stay. Yeah, that's the word, and using that as a hashtag. So. Yeah. I think there's some people get confused, right? Staycation is something that people just don't search for. Then why do we use it as a hashtag in somewhere like Instagram?
Well, actually, people do use that hashtag. And funny enough, I was working with a accommodation provider yesterday who didn't use hashtags at all, and I showed her, do a search on staycation, and then you get people photos. You see how often people have used it. Staycation UK, Staycation Scotland, get the sort of the hand. You can see how often, and these are in the thousands or sometimes in the 10,000s. Self-catering Scotland, I noticed a question about Edinburgh staycation, for example. What I would do for, okay, a lot of people won't do Edinburgh staycation, but a lot of people will use Staycation Scotland, hashtag Edinburgh, hashtag Scotland, hashtag Visit Scotland. So the trick with Instagram is by identifying, uploading different photos, different visuals, using certain hashtags, not always the same, and then see, hey, if I use this hashtag, I tend to get a bigger reach than other hashtags. So digital marketing is continuously trying out things, looking at the data, and then make better decisions on the data that's coming back. And yes, there are some hashtags that are absolutely not relevant or not used by a lot of people. Could be a niche hashtag, so you're not going to disappear for long. But measure, research, and everything. Try it.
That's great, Rennie, and I think it's just as a little teaser for next Wednesday as well. I know we're covering off the data linked with us hashtags, and we're going to share with you some websites, some apps that you can actually use, which sort of says what's the volume of these, how often are they used. So that's next Wednesday. Have that probably worth signing up even for that little piece of knowledge. Another thing you mentioned the question around competitions, and I think there was one raised specifically. I actually answered it, Rennie,
Yeah.
so hopefully you'll see that and you won't contradict me, but I think it's worth raising to the audience in general. You know, can Facebook penalize you if you don't adhere to their rules?
They can actually, and your answer is actually I would agree with that. Yes, Facebook can take you down, but they don't take your page down. I mean, over the years that we delivered workshops, webinars on Facebook and everything, and we mentioned, you know, the rules for competitions and everything. Over all those years, I had one person that got caught out, and what they thought was it was actually a competitor that said to Facebook, hey, I think they're using something that goes against your rules and regulations. And what happened was they didn't take the page down. They removed all the likes that they gained since the start of the competition. So if you're doing something that Facebook doesn't like, competition-wise, and they find out, and that could be because a competitor thinks, hey, I'm going to take it down. That's the worst that could happen. But again, you know, it's not social media is not a number games. Yes, you get thousands of extra followers, but it's focusing on the right type of followers. I can't emphasize that enough. Does that help?
That's, yeah, I think that's, yeah, that sort of aligns. I think it's about balancing that risk. If you get caught, I've certainly come across instances where pages would get locked, and Facebook can be really difficult to unlock that. So it's better to adhere to those rules rather than take that risk. Yes, you get 8,000 likes, but not necessarily people who will engage with you as well, which is what you pointed out. So, there's also a question here, Rennie, and I think could you bring back up, this is our time, could you bring it back up the last page, because there's a pin code in there for the feedback that I'd like people to sort of have front of mind. But I'm also asking you to multitask as well, Rennie, and while I ask you a question. So someone asked, what are the best times to post on Instagram and Facebook to gain more audiences in the UK?
Yeah, Facebook tends it tends to be in the evening. Facebook tends to be in the evening. Things have changed because of COVID, because more people are more on Facebook than they would have been in the office because they're working from home now. So but when I look at, I would say 99% of the businesses we work with, and I see their analytics and I look at my own analytics, is usually the evening that gives the better sort of reach. For Instagram, it's throughout the day. It's usually the normal. You can expect that, you know, the coffee breaks, the lunch times, the travel times that people travel to work and from work. These are the best times. But the advice I always give is look at your analytics, look at the data from Facebook, see if you can spot a trend, and select the sort of the 10 best performing posts, and look at the type of content that you posted, look at the timing of the content, and do the same with Instagram. On Instagram, on your phone, you get lovely data as well, from which are your most reached sort of photos, visuals in that sense, and trying to find out, is that because of the quality of the photo? Is that an inspirational photo? Is that an educational type of photo? Is it because of the hashtags? Is it because of the timing? And trying to find a trend in that sense. And you know, sometimes, I mean, I had a customer a couple of days ago that said, I posted something on LinkedIn on Friday afternoon. Took me hours to post it, and I thought, oh, let's go. I didn't expect it. Was probably the wrong time. Was their best performing post on LinkedIn for the last couple of months. So there are general sort of rules, Facebook evening and break times on Instagram and Twitter as well. But look at the data, and not too many businesses look at the data that is coming back.
Excellent, thank you, Rennie. There's talking about those posts and understanding when to post. Is there, you just going back to those tools? Do those management tools help you schedule posts? Can they help out?
Yeah, they can definitely schedule those. I see the question. Is that a question about the source of media in your post, or
the question is talking about when to post? Do some of the management platforms you talked about allow you to schedule those posts so you aren't trying to juggle everything at once?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, social media platforms. I use all of them. I used Later. I use Buffer. I still have login details for these. I tend to move on because they think yes. Hootsuite is still good, and it really depends. Some people love Hootsuite, don't like Later, or don't like Buffer. Some people love Buffer, don't get into Hootsuite. What I would recommend is sign up for some free trials of these platforms, and find out which one works better for you, which one you find more intuitive to use. And I also use Social Pilot. It's a new one that includes actually Google My Business and TikTok, because all these social media platforms are different. They have different pricing models. Some say yes, you can do Instagram, but you need to do it through your phone. Some do it within the social media platform themselves. So they're all different in that ways. Do some research on it, what works for you. What I like is Hootsuite does that, and Buffer does that as well, and no doubt Later does it as well, where you can plan your content and you can move things about. But also, if you don't have any inspiration, you can type in a search term like Loch Ness or Isle of Skye or staycation, and it will find content from the internet which you then can share on the social media platforms. And I quite like that as well, because it's sometimes you don't have that inspiration, but having access to a pool of content that social media platforms find on the internet, you can then easily share it on the different sort of platforms.
Okay, great. Just talking about inspiration, something that we as an organization, Visit Scotland, look to help you out. We've got a digital media library on VisitScotland.org, which you can use all those images for content to use for your social posts. So that's an interesting one. One particular question, I know I've mentioned the webinar Lookers into Bookers. We haven't as yet advertised that. There's a couple of technical things in terms of the webinar platform we'll use, but we'll be posting that. Follow Business Gateway on Twitter. They'll tweet that as soon, and we'll also have it up on our events section on VisitScotland.org. So thank you very much all.
Thank you very much all. Have a good time. Good luck.
Bye.